Hi everyone, Jewel Mayberry back again with another super cool astrology video. And we are talking about people with their sun in conjunct the moon. So that is when the sun and the moon are about 150 degrees apart. So they are in signs that don't get each other, is what's really going on here. So, maybe, someone's sun is in Libra and their moon is in Pisces. These signs, don't have anything in common. So, it could be any two signs, with that angle, because that 150 degree angle, and, give or take, 5 or 10 degrees, they're signs that just don't have anything in common. So, people with this aspect, their sun and their moon don't get each other. It's not like in the square or the opposition where there is like a tug of war or a war or a tension inside. The inconjunction, it's not an inner tension, it's just they just simply don't connect. They don't understand each other. So, it's like two people who just don't have anything in common, as opposed to like with the square opposition, two people that are just, butting heads, because there's, stuff going on between them. It's just like two people that just don't have anything to talk about because they have nothing to talk about. So it's a tough aspect to live with because it takes people with the inconjunction some maturity, as it does with all the adverse aspects between the sun and the moon. It generally takes people some time to work this out. The inconjunction is one that generally takes people longer. They can be well into their 50s before they master this one, because it is really a hard thing to even recognize that is going on in your life. So typically, when we're talking about aspects between the sun and the moon, they very much describe the relationship between the parents. Now, you have to look at everything in the birth chart. When I make these videos, I am talking about one aspect at a time. When you look at a birth chart and you interpret a birth chart, you look at everything. And it is multi-layered, and it takes time, and it takes experience and knowledge to see everything. So certain aspects are going to be mitigated, modified, made different by other aspects, because aspects, are conversations that the planets are having between each other. So you have to look at everything to really understand a person. So never make a judgment on one aspect alone. When I make these videos, we're talking about one aspect alone, because that's how we learn. We learn by one thing, and then we put it all together, not one thing at a time. So generally, people with the inconjunction between the sun and the moon had parents that were not on the same page. They just didn't have much in common. They didn't interact much. They didn't have common interests. Oftentimes there was a divorce, as there usually was between, most adverse aspects between the sun and the moon. And it was a relationship with the parents where the person with this aspect did not feel that they could be their self with both parents. They felt like, I can express, this part of my personality with this parent, but I have to be different with this parent. So they never could really show who they really were, because there was a feeling that they were not going to be accepted, that side of them was not accepted by that one parent, but that side was accepted by the other parent. So they could show certain aspects of themselves to one parent, but not certain aspects to the other. You see what I'm saying? So they carry this on as they mature into adulthood, and they become pleasers. And this shows up in their intimate relationships really a lot. I mean, it is not pretty how these people often are treated. They attract users, and if it's not a user, they attract somebody that has no problem trampling on their boundaries. People with this in conjunction have a problem with boundaries because they grew up pleasing. They carry that over into their intimate relationships, and they get with people that are going to support that behavior. So they can attract a bully, they can attract a user, they can attract somebody that maybe doesn't have a lot of bad characteristics, but they have no problem taking advantage of them because this person with the in conjunction makes it so darn easy. So getting some toughness about them and developing boundaries is so crucial to their happiness in the long run, because it's very hard for them to even know what their needs are, because they are givers and they need to be receivers. They need to demand that their needs are met because everybody else does. But when they do that, they feel guilty. When they give, they also feel guilty because they're not getting what they need. They're giving it away. But when they're receiving, they feel guilty because they feel like they should be giving it away. So there's a lot of guilt involved in this aspect. And these tend to be really sweet people, sweet-tempered people. And that could be mitigated because you could have like a ton of Mars or Pluto here and makes them like a jerk face. But generally, we're talking about one thing at a time. They tend to be sweet pleasers. And so as they mature, it's really important that they understand that they are attracting relationships that are reinforcing this self-defeating attitude, because they feel like, the more they give, the less they're filled up, but they have to give because they feel that's how they get. So it's so hard for them to make this, to develop congruency in the way that they think and feel. So both aspects of their personality are being supported. So when they're giving, they aren't giving so much that they're bleeding themselves dry. They're giving within a boundary. And when they're receiving, they need to understand that that is okay. They do not need to give all the time. Sometimes it is okay to receive and to demand that you get to be able to receive. And because that is how we get respect. We demand it. Most people, my dad used to always say, there are two kinds of people in this world. There are those who will see that they can take advantage of someone, and they will do it because they can. And that's the vast majority of the people in this world. But then there are others, a few, that even when they see that someone can be taken advantage of, they will not do it because they can't. It's not them. They are compassionate. These are the kind of people that people with their sun in conjunct the moon need to hook up with. And they need to demand that their needs are met. And it's okay to give, but it's okay to get also. And it's an interesting aspect in that they can switch back and forth sometimes, again, between, giving, and then, that creates the guilt loop. So they get stuck in this loop is what I'm trying to get at of, giving too much and then, receiving, but it makes them feel guilty, so they want to give too much. So it's just, maturity and really seeing what's going on and seeing that their outside relationships are just very much reflective of their own sense of self. And their own self-esteem needs to be built up. And once they start to use their power, once they start to say no, and once they start to really create those boundaries, people with this aspect can see miracles in their lives. They can become so happy, even overnight. It's a revelation to them that they have power. Because they do. It's like with the ruby slippers. They had it all along. They just had to develop the ego and the self-esteem in order to give themselves permission to use their own power. And once they start doing that, all kinds of miracles can really manifest in their life. And they become a really mature whole person. So that's actually turned out to be pretty lengthy analysis on Sun in conjunct the Moon. I hope you enjoyed this. I'll be back with more videos. I think we'll start doing the easy aspects next between the Sun and the Moon. And you can find me on Facebook at Truth in Aspect Astrology and on the internet at truthinaspectastrology.com. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.